Greetings, Elder Blacklight. Now, last night they had some out-of-towners come in and start harassing Detroit police. Night before, these cats right here that you see shot a cat and killed him. Now, it's getting to a point now where if you shoot another and kill another black man for some paper or for some silly over woman or whatever, myself, I don't know how the rest of the brothers and sisters feel, but you're a coon. Uncle Tom, you need to be considered an enemy on the side of the Klan or on the same side of the other brothers and sisters that do the work of the Caucasian. Because they're trying to take us, eliminate us. They're trying to take us off the planet, eliminate us by any means necessary. Coronaviruses, toxins in the water, vaccinations with unknown substance in them. So we're going to give you a little bit of what we're talking about these out-of-towners coming in. They provocateurs. We're going to talk more about it later on.
With those who are seeking equitable justice for everyone in our state. It is crucial that those who choose to demonstrate do so peacefully. We must pull together and treat our fellow Michiganders with dignity, compassion, and humanity.
New details this morning on the deadly shooting that took place in the midst of the protests here in Detroit on Friday night. Surveillance photos show who police are looking for. They say the man on your screen right now wearing a surgical mask with a dark hooded sweater and bright yellow pants approached a Dodge Caliber and fired shots into the car near Congress and Randolph. The car's driver was a 21-year-old man from East Point. He was hit and died at the hospital. If you've seen the suspect or have any information about the shooting, call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-SPEAK.
Lucas Tomlinson has the story.
There's over 13,000 soldiers in a fully mobilized Minnesota National Guard. At his press conference this morning, Minnesota's governor says he had spoken to the defense secretary and chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff 2 times in the past 24 hours to discuss military options, in addition to the intercepted communications he's received from the military and National Security Agency.
They also were able to provide their intelligence support of what they're seeing, what they're signal intercepting. They have obviously from NSA and others massive support to be able to see who these operators are. Just thinking about this, the wars that we fought to protect our nation, the war on terrorism, all that, over the last 72 hours, these people have brought more destruction and more terror to Minnesota than anybody in our history.
Reinforcements from the active duty forces could also be on the way soon. Military police units have been put on alert. One unit out of Fort Drum, New York, home to the Army's 10th Mountain Division, has been told to get ready to deploy in 4 hours if needed. The request for active duty soldiers from military police units came from the White House, Fox News is told. Deploying active duty forces is not without precedent. In 1992, thousands were deployed during the Rodney King riots in Los Angeles under the 1807 Insurrection Act.
I think it's really important, again, for folks to think about the uniqueness of our nation of protecting civil liberties is to make sure that civilian control of the military, and especially inside the United States, is carried out by civilians, by citizen soldiers, by National Guard.
So far, Governor Walz has not requested those active duty forces. From what we just heard, it sounds like he wants to let the Minnesota National Guard quell the violence. At the Pentagon, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
Coming up on Let It Rip weekend, protesters seeking justice for George Floyd.
But they real.
And the Chief has a message for protesters.
Do us a favor. If you live outside the city, why don't you protest in your hometown?
Plus, violence in Ypsilanti, protests over alleged police brutality in our own backyard. An exclusive interview with the victims right now on Let It Rip. It's time now to Let It Rip. Joining me now, Detroit's Police Chief James Craig. Chief, let me ask you, it seems that many of the people that were arrested over these last couple of days of protest were from the suburbs. Why do you think that the people were coming in from the suburbs and not protesting properly? Why is that?
That's a great question, Charlie. I wish you could talk to some of them. You know, let's face it, Detroit's the largest city. They want to make a statement. And let me first start by saying that the protesters who were peaceful, that's not our problem. It's the agitators that came in, and the arrests that we made, absolutely majority, or at least 60% or more, were from the outside. But you know what I think people are forgetting? We are still in the midst of a COVID crisis. Now, when you got protesters walking and chanting Black Lives Matter, okay, we can appreciate that. But if Black lives truly matter, knowing that we're in a COVID crisis, and Detroit's been a hotbed, we've had a number of deaths. We have, and you know, it's affected the police department. I was impacted. Then, if it matters, stay home and make your statements in your hometown. Why come to Detroit?
Chief, I understand there may have been a curfew in the city of Detroit. Is there a curfew? Will you enforce a curfew? And would a curfew maybe stop some of these violent protesters?
I don't think a curfew necessarily would stop violent protests. I mean, let's look around the country. Frankly, the protesters, the law-abiding community members who wanted to express themselves, we support. They're not the problem. In fact, the organizers at the beginning of the protests, you know, praised the Detroit Police Department, thanked us for allowing them to assemble and make their statement. We support that. And then when the violence started by a small faction, small group, they denounced the violence. We had local community leaders, we had activists who were on the front lines with us, who also tried to mitigate the violence. Telling these individuals that they weren't welcome here in Detroit, go home. And so, tremendous challenge, but I got to thank them. They were out there on the front lines. The law-abiding protesters clearly stated, we support the Detroit Police Department, and what we're focusing on has nothing to do with this department.
Chief,
but yet, these agitators come to Detroit.
In other parts of the country, we have seen the National Guard deal with protesters. We haven't seen that yet in Detroit, but under what circumstances would the National Guard have to come in and assist you?
We're not even close to that point, Charlie. In fact, let me just start by thanking the men and women who were on the front lines yesterday, our Detroit police officers, who just showed tremendous restraint, professionalism, relied heavily on their training. They executed on our response when necessary to maintain safety in our city. We don't need a National Guard. I mean, we're not facing a full-blown civil unrest.
We're going to continue on because we're part two of this. I can predict what's going to happen. I can predict what this is all about. Because in my younger days of community activism, I was on the front lines with Malik Shabazz of the New Garvey movement, and formerly, I don't know if he's still a Panther, not Malik El Shabazz, but Malik Shabazz of Detroit. And it was back in the days of Malice Green, murder and execution. And some kids, I believe they were provocateurs, came. It was a peaceful rally. We had been well into the rally, but we hadn't said prayer yet, and so we was getting ready to say a prayer, and here they come with all this ruckus and violent, unstable behavior. And I knew one of the guys. I thought he was cool, but it was a brother. But he brought a whole bunch of white guys with him, white people with him. Right then, I had a feeling that was the federales coming, the feds, and to unstabilize the peaceful rally, because it was a lot of community activists. They probably had targeted one or two. It was the Nation of Islam, the Moors, in them days we all kind of like showed up together. We supported one another. I'm speaking of the Gaviites, the Moors, the Nation of Islam, and even you would see some of New York's people, Nuwabians out there. But this is heading to, they want to bring the national, even the police in, even the troop, not the police, but the army in. And they're trying it here, but it ain't gonna work. We're gonna talk more about it as my time runs down. I'm gonna tell you, if y'all don't think quick, you're gonna be in a hell of a fix. This is Black Light.